Afternoon. A little bit past 1, getting close to 1:15. We'll see if we can keep the conversation nice and concise. I mentioned that yesterday and ended up talking for an hour. Although, to be fair to myself, I was wrapping things up around the 20-minute mark, and some good friends popped on. Good friends show up, you have to engage. Anyone shows up. It's always nice to engage. Sometimes I consider just making a video talking, not live. That way I can say things, say what I think I have to say. I never really know until I start talking. And then I can wrap it up. I'm not really engaging with anyone but myself. But that's where you lose it, by not engaging, or at least not having the potential to engage. Some days no one shows up, and I wrap up the conversation 20 minutes or so, which is fine. But to have that potential, somebody can show up, ask me a question, we could start talking about whatever. That's what makes it an art. That's what makes conversation an art form. You don't have a plan. You're winging it. Again, I liken it to a abstract expressionist. That if this is art, then for me, it's going to go all over the canvas. Just the way the mind works. It's funny because I often talk about things that you would think maybe would offer you some sort of control of the mind. Meditation, yoga, and of course the second sutra in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra is talking about yoga is the cessation of the fluctuation of the mind. But what you find is, and Nisargadatta Maharishi pointed this out, the mind is always in motion. The mind is always thinking, it's always doing things. It's always doing mind stuff. However, awareness is a separate issue. Not a separate thing, but a separate issue. And it is being aware of the fluctuations of the mind that brings us that steadiness. Holding that awareness. And then the mind seems to settle on its own accord. It's what I find through meditation is as I think the mantra, there's all kinds of thoughts going on, even after 30 years of meditation. But eventually, those thoughts start to slow. Every once in a while, one will wander its way in, and I'll end up following it. Before I know it, I'm drifting in thought. Come back to the mantra. Happens less and less, and you find these long stretches, just sitting, just being. That's when you're in the gap. You come out of it with a thought, or with a sensation, with a feeling. Something pulls you out of it, and you realize, I was gone. Literally. The I that you think you are, gone, disappeared, comes back in an instant with the thought, following the thought. That's very telling, because the I, as it appears to me, is nothing more than a thought. So who am I without those thoughts? I am. That would be the message from Nisargadatta Maharishi, I believe. Been working through his books for 30 plus years. It sinks in. It sinks in a little at a time. No hurry. All happens on its own, and that's his message. That's the message of Niskara Yoga. Spontaneity. Things arising, things passing, and we are the abiding presence of which it all goes through. So some of the things I've been thinking of: online presence, building up an audience. Weirdly, it's just weird to think in those terms. But it seemed to be the creative direction I'm heading, sort of. A way to, I don't have a message. I don't have a teaching. I'm not a teacher. Okay, take that back. I do teach meditation. I do teach breath work. I talk about yoga. But I'm not really like a teacher. I'm not a, let me make sure I get my air bunnies up here, my quotes. I am not a spiritual teacher. I don't have a message that I'm giving anyone. So why would I even think about an online presence other than it just, again, seems to be the direction that I'm going. It's been fun. Coming here, does anyone show up? Do I talk for 20 minutes? Do I talk for an hour? What's going to come out next? No idea. Of course, I do feel I have some things to share. I've had my battles with alcohol, sort of. I've had a briefer battle with drugs, again, sort of. I think I'll get into what I mean by sort of. For the majority of my drinking years, and quite a few years, I didn't have a battle because I wasn't trying to quit. Even when my life was falling apart, I wasn't trying to quit. I was enjoying it. It's a happy drunk. Hybrid Jim is here. Hey, waiting for my lasagna to be ready. It is lasagna day, which is, what did you mention? About every 4 days or so is lasagna day. For me, I think in terms of lasagna as I'll have a week of eating ahead. I'll make a lasagna, have some in the refrigerator. I might freeze some. But from what you mentioned, it is a one-day affair. Lasagna is here. Lasagna is gone. Which is probably the best way to do it, actually. Although, sometimes leftover things are even better than the original. I don't know as lasagna is one of them, but some things are. I don't have leftovers anymore because I'm a one pot cooker. I make what I'm going to eat, put it in my Instapot or my bowl of oatmeal. I eat it and I'm done. Nothing wasted, nothing saved. Hybrid Jim says, yeah, probably 3 or 4 days. This one is curry. Curry potato day, lasagna day, chili day. I used to like cold pizza. I used to like cold pizza as well. I used to like cold pizza after a night of drinking, actually. Seemed to settle things down a bit. Get that head from buzzing too much, get the stomach from rumbling too much. Perfect post-drinking meal. I was going to say first thing in the morning, but if I was drinking, I would probably roll out of bed and it wouldn't be the first thing in the morning. However, you know what? A decade plus of heavy drinking, never missed a workout due to it. Did what I had to do. Showed up for work, showed up at the gym. But still my life was falling apart. And I didn't even realize it. I was moving happily along. Drinking every single night. In excess. For only one reason. I didn't drink just to kick back and have a few drinks. I drank to get drunk. Because obviously I felt that I was getting something out of drinking that much. For the life of me now, I don't know what it was. Because I wasn't getting it. Maybe I thought I was funnier. Maybe I thought I was better looking. Maybe I thought I was more charming. And maybe in some ways I was. You know, I became I definitely became more engaging with people. I'm a relatively shy, almost reclusive and by nature. And first off, uh, smoking pot in my teens, my 20s, really brought me out of that shell. The weird things that I had been thinking now became the vocal things that I was saying. And people began to look in my direction as, this guy's got some weird stuff going on, but you should listen to him because he's got some weird shit going on. Hybrid Jim makes an excellent point. Our former selves may as well be strangers. Yeah, exactly, which is why I always say the self is fluid. When we say things like, I'm building a better self for tomorrow or whatever, we have no idea what that self's going to be tomorrow. We're selfing. There's never a self, constantly in flux, constantly in motion. As Alan Watts famously said, or thereabouts, that as a tree branches and the ocean waves, the universe selves. We are an expression of the universe. Wave to the ocean, a branch to the tree. We appear as selves, but just like a leaf on a branch, just like the continuation of waves, we're never the same twice. Who was it? A Greek philosopher originally, and then someone else actually came along and I think claimed it. We never get wet by the same river twice, which is much the same as we are never, ever the same self. It seems like there's some sort of continuity. What is it? The only continuity that I can find is the awareness of those changing selves. So if you look back in that direction of where it feels that awareness lies, although awareness actually is through everything, we get to that witness state, the witness to it all. I'm not saying that there's an inherent reality to that witness, because in deep meditation, even the witness disappears. And then there's just observation itself with no object of observation, not even a witness. So, yeah, I obviously felt that, I was getting something out of drugs. I was getting something out of drinking. It was only later when I started realizing the consequences that what I was getting out certainly wasn't worth what I was losing, which was quite a bit. Relationships. I never drank myself out of a job, but I did drink myself out of several cars that I had wrecked. And I did drink myself out of relationships, friendships. Not because anything happened, but because people got on with their lives. They didn't see the point in going to a bar every night. And honestly, who can blame them? Again, I'm not even sure what I did. So somebody mentioned, you could build an online presence, whatever that really means, talking about drinking, how to quit drinking. Weird thing to talk about, because I don't feel like I quit drinking. I didn't make any declaration of life is so bad, I'm not going to drink anymore. I've mentioned this story before. I instantly became someone who doesn't drink. Literally in an instant. I was drunk. Something happened. I realized that I didn't have to ever drink again, and never drank again. Seamless. Yeah, there's been moments through the years when not really tempted to have a drink, but sometimes I think, what would it be like to go out and have a drink? Or would it be the same, or whatever? They're not serious thoughts. They're not actionable thoughts. I'm never tempted. I'm never like, I'm going to go out and do this. going to a bar has absolutely zero appeal. The thing is, you can't teach that. You can't teach how not to be a drunk. You can't teach how to quit drinking. You can't teach how to quit drugs. It happens. And Bill W., the founder of, or co-founder of AA, basically said the same thing. You need an epiphany. For some, the epiphany is hitting rock bottom and knowing, I have nowhere else to go. This is as low as it gets. Although I know quite a few people who've been in the hospital for alcohol poisoning, who've done some of the things that I've done, wrecked cars, and that still isn't rock bottom. I've been in the position where I've almost destroyed lives, still didn't quit drinking. The thing that got me to quit drinking was that epiphany, and you can't give somebody an epiphany. You can make conditions right for an epiphany to happen. For me, that was meditation and yoga. For several years, even when I was drinking, I had been meditating, I had been doing yoga, been doing some prayer, not on my knees praying for something, just opening myself up for communicating with whatever concept of the divine would like to speak to me. I had no idea what. After going to Catholic school from 2nd grade on, I did not have a personal God in which I believed in, which I still don't have a personal God. Not like that. It seems to me that God is everywhere or God is nowhere. God is everything or God is nothing. And I don't mean that in the negative way. I mean that in the way of, let's say, negation. That when you take away every concept, what you have left is reality, and reality itself is God. Just a thought. So, again, you can't teach that. Hybrid Gem is heading out. Thanks for sharing. Thank you. Thanks for coming in. Enjoy your lasagna. Again, there won't be any leftovers, I'm sure. You've mentioned that. So enjoy it while you have it. And I'll see you later. I'm only going to talk for a few minutes more, I think. A little more about, epiphanies. I like to think of it as, I've mentioned this before, Jack Kornfield, the Buddhist meditation teacher and author, likes to say that meditation doesn't cause awakening. Meditation and yoga doesn't cause awakening. And let's substitute the word awakening for epiphany. Waking up. That's all an epiphany is, waking up to a greater, more in-depth understanding of reality. So meditation doesn't cause that to happen. It's an accident when it happens, grace. However, as Jack Kornfield says, meditation makes you accident prone. Yoga makes you accident prone. It's a beautiful way of thinking about it. In a way, we live in a purposeful, accidental universe. Coincidental. Synchronicities. It's how everything ties together. So, it seems like a good note to end things on, or to trail things off a little bit. Epiphanies, grace, meditation, prayer, how things happen. I have no idea. They just do. One thing I do want to talk about, and we won't cover it today. Remind me when I come on to talk about this tomorrow, when I come on to talk tomorrow. Authenticity. First off, we will study on how to say it correctly. Being authentic. Much easier. Can you be authentic? Can you have an online presence and be authentic? We'll see. That's the thing. Just coming here, having a conversation. opening up, sharing, see where the conversation goes. That is about as authentic as I can get. Just putting it out there. All right, guys. If anyone ever has anything they want to talk about, or they would like me to talk about, or they'd like me to not talk about any longer, just leave a comment. Reach out. Meditation, breathwork, yoga, personal philosophy. I can't talk about the world's great philosophers. I can talk about my philosophy for whatever it is. We can talk about your philosophy, whatever it might be. And we can just tie things together, see how it flows. So, with that in mind, I'm going to say goodbye, and I will be back. We'll talk some more tomorrow. Take care.